300 people crossed the channel illegally in 2018, and this year it's 28,500. And of those, we've seen this trick before. Many claim to be children, when actually they look about 35 and would make quite good prop forwards at rugby. But over the course of the last year to September, 1,100 migrants who claimed to be under 18 were found to be adults, and that's 66% of those who claimed to be children weren't. They, of course, had no identity documents. We've seen evidence from the Tug Haven base in Dover that actually there were no proper means of checking how old people were, and in many cases, because of lack of interpreters, this was being done by asking them to show the number of fingers that they had. So basically, we've been just openly lied to by these people. These false age claims are just plain wrong, and it adds, I think, to the growing sense amongst many of the real injustice of what's happening. We're asked by the Archbishop of Canterbury, we're told we must be compassionate. But how compassionate can we be to people who are behaving in this manner, and what can be done? Well, joining me to talk about this is David Simmons, Conservative Member of Parliament, London Member of Parliament. David, can you understand why people are really angry that this number of people have simply lied?
I share that frustration. I've spent over 20 years as a local councillor having to deal at a local authority level with the consequences of people who are a different age to what they present with. It costs local council taxpayers tens of thousands of pounds dealing with legal cases every year to try and resolve some of these issues. And it's one of the reasons why I've been very keen to encourage government as we look at the new Nationality and Borders Bill to ensure that we've got robust controls in place. Because the system that we have at the moment clearly is not fit for purpose in identifying individuals whose claim for asylum in the UK under our laws is not well founded. And I think the measures that are in that will, I certainly hope, make this a much more robust system of management at the border and ensure that we begin to both weed out false claims and make sure that people who genuinely deserve help and asylum in the UK are able to get it swiftly.
Might it be useful, David, if we said and made it very clear, which these days through social media makes it quite easy to do, that if we said to people that if you destroy your identity documents before you reach the United Kingdom, you have little or no chance of being accepted for refugee status? Might that bring a bit more openness, transparency and honesty into the system?
Well, people who've travelled in the hands of people smugglers and traffickers across Europe may not have identity documents. Indeed, those may have been taken from them by the people smugglers as a means of exerting control. But we know that in the first few hours, the first few days after people arrive in our country, it's really important that the discussion is had about what the rules are in the UK. And the point that you mentioned about a lack of interpreters is a really good example. Now, I've personally been to the jungle camp in Calais when that was being used as a traffickers stopping off point. I've seen the conditions that people are living in. We need to make sure that the British state is able to have a good conversation with people to set out what the rules are in this country, to make sure that people have a genuine chance to present a good claim if they have one, but also to make sure that they understand that there will be consequences if they're not honest, they're not clear about what the situation is that they're presenting.
But what would those consequences be? Because if we allow people to cross the line of the English Channel and we take them into Dover, what possible sanctions at this moment in time, with government policy where it is, with the European Convention on Human Rights being enshrined in British law, what sanctions do we have?
Well, when we were a member of the European Union, we did have something called the Dublin Treaty, which enabled us to deport people from the UK to other European countries.
A small number.
And I think it is right that the government is negotiating actively to bring about a return to a similar type of situation whereby we can swiftly return people. But I think more importantly, we need to process the claims quickly. We need to make sure that people who've come to the UK who could have come by a safe and legal route where they could have claimed asylum directly to the UK from another country, and having chosen not to do so, are seen that they don't get an advantage. And we need to change the fact that at the moment, you cannot claim asylum, you cannot make a claim for refuge in the UK unless you're physically here. So, for example, the suggestion that's come from France that we should process those asylum claims offshore, that the authorities in other countries should be able to do that, perhaps do it through consulates or even online. So nobody needs to leave where they are at all. They don't need to be in a boat being smuggled across the channel. They can make their application and we can make a decision about whether we are going to offer them that humanitarian protection. Their lives are not at risk and we protect the integrity of our borders.
Well, that would be a step in the right direction. David Simmons, MP, thank you very much for joining us. And I'm just reminded, folks, of the Parson Green terrorists. Do you remember Ahmed Hassan, the guy that planted the bomb on the train that injured 23? And he was somebody who'd come to the United Kingdom, claimed he was 16 years old, and was in fact older. You see, there is danger in this. Now, this is an extraordinary story and not a very nice one either. It's a real what the Farage. Unvaccinated travellers in Canada over the age of 12 won't be able to board a plane or passenger train. The discovery of the new variant, Omicron, has prompted border closures and heavier screening in Canada and abroad over fears it could prove more transmissible. Well, we know it is. But what is more outrageous is that passengers are having to wear stickers to show they are vaccinated. A passenger called Dustin took to Twitter to show he was being forced to wear a yellow vaccination sticker on a via rail train. Vaccination passports, stickers, what the hell are we going to see next? It is almost unbelievable that a country called Canada can be behaving in this way.